So other than that, so I was playing WWE, and also there's some other game I was playing. Oh, it's the new release of the week, Ryan. Do you know what it is?
Do you want my soundboard? Vroom, vroom, vroom. It's a racing game.
What racing game would it be, Ryan?
I was a former fan of the series, and this is the new Need for Speed.
That is right. So it's
reboot style.
It is kind of a reboot. Yeah, it is a reboot. It's the new Need for Speed. It came out on Tuesday, November 2nd. 3rd, excuse me. It's developed by Ghost Games, published by EA. It came out on the PlayStation 3, Xbox One, and the PC. The game looks fantastic.
Was it the PlayStation 4 that it came out on?
Did I say 3?
Yeah, you did.
I meant PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC.
The old gens, not so much anymore.
No, the old gens are kind of getting pushed off to the side. So we'll talk about that when we get to Call of Duty later on, which I didn't play, but we'll talk about it a little bit. Need for Speed. The game looks fantastic. You actually saw a little bit of it before we started.
Dude, I mean, we should say that I played the PlayStation 2 Need for Speed games to my heart's content. And, just the refinement, especially like we were talking about even like in the garage, like the refinement of the cars and like the lighting of them is just so much better than the old generations.
Oh, it really is. Like the lighting to make a realistic environment is fantastic, especially because they went back to the Need for Speed Most Wanted style of cutscenes to where it's actually like full motion video live actors kind of style. Mm-hmm. And the coolest effect that I absolutely love it is if you're having a conversation in the garage with like your mechanic, instead of it just cutting to you outside the garage, it'll do a slow pan from the garage to where your car is, and it's perfect.
To put you in that space.
Yeah, it puts you right in there ready to modify your car. And even in some of the cutscenes, like you'll see your car kind of in the background, and it doesn't look cheesy like that's obviously a CGI car. It looks like a legit real car.
They did do that in the in the old PlayStation 2 games, and they did look kind of crappy. It looked cel shaded and cartoony.
Yeah, they don't look cel shaded at all in this one, which is really nice. The aesthetically, like the only complaint that I have as far as just general aesthetics is that it's always raining or just rained. And for some reason, the world only exists between the hours of 8 p.m. and 8 a.m. So there's very little daylight. Like it's always nighttime except for dusk and dawn. You're not going to do a street race at noon.
Here's your problem. Is you apparently did not read that this takes place in Vancouver, British Columbia.
I knew I should have read the instruction manual.
And it also has some sort of time parallel where you just haven't gotten to the season of like daylight, like where daylight is like 20 hours and then nighttime is only 4 hours. Because apparently this is the inverse where nighttime is 20 hours and daylight is only 4 hours. So you need to read that up on the...
I thought they were all just vampires. That was what I was going with throughout my playthrough.
Yeah, when you told me that, where it was just like, oh, it's always nighttime, I was just like, I don't think that happened in the old ones, but the old ones were far more like linear, like, whoa, pick this map and like go drive over here and like, oh, it just... Now it's going to be 8 o'clock for this particular like race to happen, like sort of thing. But that is odd. So the raining aspect, I could kind of see them like writing it in somehow if they needed to, of like, oh, this just needs to be in a real temperate climate and off the.
It's in Seattle.
Yeah,
there
it's in Seattle or Vancouver. Yeah, does it take you out of it?
No, it's not something that you really notice until you're actually like looking for it, and you've been playing it for like 20 hours. You're like, it's still raining. Why?
It's just an oddity, sort of aesthetic, I guess. But yeah,
it is. It looks cool because it makes all the streets seem shiny. But you can. I don't know. It seems generic after a while, but it does look really good. I mean, the streets do look fantastic. All the buildings look really good. The cars look fantastic. And as far as the gameplay is concerned, it handles really well. All of your cars do. You can adjust your tuning for the cars to make them either more drift heavy or have them grip a little bit more to get the real racing lines that you want. I prefer drifting. You can also change your nitrous now to be more of an arcade style nitrous where it will refill depending upon as you drift or as you like slipstream cars. Otherwise, you can just have it refill over time for more of a simulation style. It's kind of up to you to give you that a little extra leeway to decide if you want an arcade racer or more of a simulation style racer, which is good.
They got away from that in the Most Wanted series, so that's interesting. They tried to make it more realistic and less arcadey.
There's no manual transmissions that I saw. It's all automatic transmissions. So if you're a guy who likes to shift up, shift down, sorry, you can't really do that.
Yeah, I know that some car purists might be upset about that. I never chose that, but yeah, I know some people that love the Gran Turismo series or Forza.
Yeah, you're not going to get that here. You should just stick with Gran Turismo or Forza if you want those.
So it still has that arcadey element of just automatics. Okay.
Yep. The other thing is that it's a constantly persisting world too. So you'll have racers and traffic and police officers all existing in the world while you're either going to a destination or while you're actually in a race.
So this gets to some of your complaints and your pros and cons, I believe. Let's elaborate on this real world scenario.
All right. So this game, it's not online only. You can play it with your internet connection disabled. Otherwise, if you have your internet connection on, you have to play online. There is no single player offline mode. Yeah. So it's constantly going to try and connect you with other people who are playing the game. It's going to inject them into your world, even though you don't really interact with them at all. At all. So the only time that I've interacted with somebody was on accident because as you're driving a race on a course,
right.
It's all in a city. So you're just driving on streets which other people are driving on. So I've had it to where I'm driving a race in a specific route while another player is actually driving a race in a different route that intersects with my route.
Okay.
So as I'm speeding down a hill, like 5 cars come speeding up the same hill.
And that's a cool aesthetic.
It is. It's pretty awesome. But I haven't gotten in an actual like race with another human being, and I've been playing online the entire time, and I've had this since Tuesday.
So can you go pursue those other real people?
They're so far. Like the map is large, so it's hard to actually go and find them because they're doing their other thing. So unless you I haven't seen a way to connect with them on a headset either, so I don't really have any way to communicate with them.
So it would have to be me at my house, and I would have to like message you, on the PlayStation 4 like setup of like, hey, like now we can play, sort of thing, and do the same mission.
So like I've at the very beginning on the start menu, you can join a crew of up to I think it's 3 people that you can play online with, and they're going to be in your world, and that will make it a little bit easier. But as far as like actually going and starting a race with like 6 other people, I haven't done that at all. I think there's a dog fight.
Most definitely.
That's weird. That happens from here time to time. Sorry. Hey.
So there's no meetup place in the game, and that's what it's lacking. It sounds like you should have like a mutual garage, and then like have that interactive, and just have your character, or you said like there's a lot of like. Cell phone, like just like your cell phone is your equipment of interacting with people. So that's what the game is lacking.
Well, you do have a mutual garage. Everyone uses the same garage.
Okay.
But even when you're there, like I've gone to the garage when other people are there and haven't found a way to really interact with them at all. And part of this could possibly be because of the fact that it's online only. There's no way to pause the game. At all.
Okay.
So when the tutorials are popping up explaining how to get rep and the different types of rep, which is like 5 different ways to gain experience, they do it during the middle of a race, and they darkens your screen, and it's a pop-up on the full size of the screen. So like I'm trying to race and take corners while a pop-up message is on there. Do you think I'm really going to like stop racing and read that?
Something tells me that's not helpful.
No, it's not, because I didn't realize that you have 5 different kinds of ways to get rep, as they call it, which is experience. So you've got style, you've got speed, you've got crew, you've got build, and you've got outlaw.
Let's take a moment and give you a round of applause for remembering all of those, because I sure as shit would not have memorized all of those. So good on you.
Well, I had
that is a lot. That's almost excessive, you would say.
It It's nice. Thank you. I appreciate that. And the reason why I remember them is because I didn't read the tutorials. I had to like figure out how to gain those myself because I skipped all the tutorials because they show up on your screen in the middle of a race. So like I had no idea how to get crew experience until I was racing and a pop-up said, you're getting crew experience for speed matching. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's how you do that. And you get crew experience for drift training, which I'm not a racing fan. I didn't know what a drift train was.
Okay.
Do you know what a drift train is?
I do, but based off of the other games that I played several years ago, but vaguely, yeah.
See, I didn't know what it was, so I was just like, oh, okay. And then after doing it a few times, I'm like, oh, it's when you drift at the same time as other people are on the same corner. Okay, so like it would be really nice if the first part of the game, the tutorial part, is offline, so that way it does pause the gameplay, so you can actually take time to read what the developers want you to know,
right? Instead
of having to skip it because I'm in the middle of a race. It doesn't make any sense at all. And I know other games have done it, so it's possible. Don't lie to me.
Well, so do you think they kind of are they catering to like their hardcore audience, I guess, is what I'm saying. And the hardcore fans didn't necessarily need to read any of that tutorial. Yep, I know about this drift. Yep, they had this in the previous ones of like 3 or 4 or 5 different ways of getting rep. This is all familiar.
Well, that would make sense if this wasn't a reboot.
Yeah, that's true. It is.
So,
yeah.
I mean,
and from the little that I saw you play, they meshed together like their 4 or 5 that they had previously, and like the map is similar from this one. The most wanted aspect of like the cops that you were explaining to me was meshed in from the other one. Yeah, that definitely sounds like a misstep, and yeah, they definitely probably should have pumped the helpfulness of it.
Like the one thing I can say about this game is it is really fun. It's exhilarating when you get into a really nice race.
And great looking. Let's not forget the great looking factor, because it blew me away when I saw it.
It looks really, really good. But its style and the choice of how they display user interface things gets in its way all of the time. So it's tripping over its own feet when it decides we want to be stylish with how we show our tutorials. So we're just going to have a pop-up screen and no pause. That doesn't really benefit the player at all.
It hinders you, it sounds like.
It does, because I don't know how to gain experience, which you need experience to level up, which is how you get better equipment. So like if I want a better like nitros tank, I have to actually earn experience, and I can't do that if I don't know how. So like it just kind of gets in its own way. And then also there's other things too. So everyone is on the course, well, the streets at the same time. So this includes yourself, other players, computer-controlled players, and police officers. And they exist all the time. So even while you're in the middle of a race, if you speed past a police officer, it'll initiate a pursuit in the middle of the race.
Right.
So you still have to complete the race, but now you're getting chased by cops, which makes it a little bit more tense, which is a good feeling. It's nice, except for how they represent the fact that you're in and out of a pursuit. So when you get into a pursuit, it's not that bad because the screen just kind of flashes red real quick, and it's not that bright.
Yeah, and some of the previous ones, they would have it where it would pause for like half a second, and then you would see like the cops like kind of rolling into your camera, and then it would like go right back into it. Yeah, and that transition is slow-mo, kind of interesting, and it gives you like a definite split of like when that's happening. So is that helpful?
Not really, because I don't need to know when the police are chasing me. They have sirens that reflect off of the wet streets and the wet surroundings. So I know when a police officer is chasing me without having to have the screen flash red.
Right.
And then when you come out of a police chase, which happens pretty quickly when you're in the middle of a race because you're already going at like 120, 150 miles an hour just around turns and blistering speed. But when you get out of a police chase, there's a full screen blue wipe across the screen that covers your screen.
This was your biggest beef, and I think you had the most, the best argument for like why the hell this exists. Because when the few minutes I watched him play this, I actually thought it was a spotlight from a police helicopter that was like pursuing you, and I was just like, what the hell was that blue like flashing light that was there? Was that not the spotlight? And you're like, oh no, that's just I lost one of the cops, and I was just like, well, that's weird as shit. Like, why is that necessary?
It's not necessary. You can do it with a sound effect and not give me any visual cue. If you want a visual cue, just make my speedometer blink blue, but not a full screen blue wipe. Because that completely obscures your vision for a good second.
Right.
Which, when you're going 125 miles an hour and you're drifting around turns, you don't want to be blinded because the game wanted to look stylish for a second.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense. Just do something small and simple and not hinder my experience, which is what that does.
A blue flash on the mini map would be an option too, and that was the other thing is they used to have like the cops behind you on the mini map, but it didn't. Was that the case there? I didn't notice that.
The cops do show up on your mini map, which is helpful. But if you're in the middle of a race, they're going from a dead stop, and you're at 120 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So they're on your mini map for a second, and they're gone.
Yeah.
Which makes racing with them difficult because there's a few like races that are outlaws races where the whole point is we're going to not hinder, but we're going to jack the police up. So we want to get them all riled up. So we're going to drive around the precinct in this race to kind of get all of them to chase us.
We don't recommend you do that in real life, by the way.
No, you shouldn't be racing.
This is a video game we're talking about.
Yes. So, okay. So anyway, when you're doing this race, like one red flash is fine for when they start the police chase,
right?
But it's every time a new police officer joins the chase and sees you. So when you're doing these races, the screen is constantly blinking red with all of these police officers to one point where I thought I was going to have an epileptic seizure because the screen was just blinking so damn much. Like just once when you start the pursuit, it's all you need. I don't need 20 flashing red lights filling up the whole screen.
Okay. How would you?
You just have it flash once. You don't need to have it flash forever.
Yeah, do you think they? I'm just trying. I'm trying to ask the question of why the hell did they why did they think that was a cool aesthetic, and not?
Why did none of the game testers say, "Hey, this is kind of annoying. Can you guys tone this down just a little bit?"
Right.
But. No, it's still in the final product of the game. I don't get it either. I don't like it. I like the game, but just some of the choices that they made as far as aesthetic and how they present information to the racer, it hinders the experience too much.
Okay. What about game modes? Do you have some game is it a meaty game? Is it a long 25 hours? Is it super duper short?
I've been playing it since Tuesday. I've probably put in about 22 hours, somewhere around there, and I'm about 47% of the way through,
damn.
I want to say.
Okay.
There's a lot to do. So you have collectibles in the game, like taking photographs of places in the world. There's hidden car parts that you can find on the back of trucks.
Oh, really? That's new. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, that wasn't in any of the old ones.
And then every time that you do like a race, like a story race, that race unlocks for you to do anytime that you want, and you get points for doing it once in the story, and then you get for your unlockables for completing the game, you have to do it a second time against 6 racers instead of just the regular 1 racer that you're racing against in the story mode.
That sounds challenging.
It is, but once you learn the course, it gets a little bit easier because then you know what's coming up. Whereas the first time you're doing it against the story mode character, you're kind of going in blind.
Gotcha.
And you're taking most of the time to look at your mini map to see what turns are coming up next. Whereas when you do it a second time, you know what's going on. You okay over there?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. So it's a meaty game. There's a ton of races that you can do. You have drift races. You've got sprints, which are just from point A to point B. You've got circuit races, which are laps.
Right. The usual.
Mm-hmm. You also have, they do some interesting, different kind of variations on drift racing too. So they have one where it's just get this amount of points in a given sprint. So get 20,000 drift points before you reach the finish line, and you're just racing by yourself. They have one that is it's like a drift race where you get a multiplier depending upon what place you are in the race, and you still have to get that's the person with the most drift points wins. So you want to be in first place, so you get a 2.2 times multiplier, whereas if you're in third place in the race, you get a 1.6 times multiplier.
I used to love those ones.
They also do have a drift train one where you only get a multiplier if you're in a drift train. Otherwise, if you're doing drifts by yourself, you only get a 1x multiplier.
Ooh.
And then they also do have like a straight race/drift mode too, where it's you have to finish like in first place and you have to get this many drift points too within style points within the time of the race.
A little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And I don't believe that was in I don't think that was in any of the previous ones.
They'll give you daily challenges too. So like one of the outlaw challenges is get in a pursuit for 5 minutes and then lose the cops. Get a $5,000 fine and lose the cops. They do daily challenges too. 3 of them a day to gain more experience and more cash.
Okay. So that's helpful, like leveling up essentially.
Yep. Leveling up, buying new cars. You get 5 car spots in your garage. So you can upgrade 5 vehicles. Some of the races do have horsepower limits too. The young speedsters courses are what those are called, where you have a 250 horsepower limit for your car to enter it. So, which is weird. Like by the time I unlocked those, I already had a Lamborghini which had 800 horsepower. So going from 0 to 60 in 2 seconds to a car that goes 0 to 60 in 5.5 is kind of a jump down, but whatever.
Yeah.
The sense of speed in the game is really cool too. I can't emphasize that enough. Like when you go fast, it feels like you're going fast. It handles really kind of loose.
Well, yeah, and the visuals of it just help out in that department for sure. Like just the crispness of everything was real nice.
Yeah. So overall, if you like the Need for Speed style games, especially if you like Most Wanted, I would at least give this a shot. I don't know if I would buy it to say, but I would at least rent it and see what you think, just because it's a fun game, but they step over their own feet trying to be cool, and it's and the cutscenes, like all the full motion video, they're rough in a good way. Like there's a lot of in-screen fist bumping to where you're looking from your character's point of view, your character's eyes.
POV,
like, yo, what's up, man? They'll do the fist bump so you see your fist come over in the screen, or you're gonna pick up a slice of pizza and go like this. It has its moments where it's just like, all right, this is funny. I can get behind this. But then there's some points where like the worst character I think is a skinny blonde.
Does it show like just your character like having to like pay out like off the cops or something, and then just giving them like a giant briefcase of like a freaking like $1 million and shit?
No,
no. I mean, that would add to the funny factor you were talking about. I haven't
gotten into any experiences with the cops actually.
Oh, okay.
So like when you initially like are caught breaking the law, you can pay a fine, which isn't much. But I have never been caught by the police at all, even after like wrecking right in front of them, because they respawn you and they try and pin you in. But I have never gotten into a spot where the police actually pin me in. They pin me in from the side, so I just reverse out and turn and go. So I don't know if that's the computer AI, or I don't know if you just can't get caught by the police. But I've been playing the game for 22 hours and have never been caught.
Huh. Well, because in the Most Wanted one, I believe, it would just straight up like freeze you, and then you would be reset, back at your base or something, and then it would give you like that fine aspect. But yeah, I wonder why they kind of changed that.
I have no idea. So after a while, like the police, they don't really, that tension of them being in the race is gone, and more of just like whenever they come, I get upset because I know I'm going to see that blue screen wipe at some point during the race, and I'm waiting for it the entire time. Like, God damn it, the police are here. So in 6 seconds, I'm going to have to like blur my vision for a full second because they wanted to be stylish.
And a full second hurts in a racing game.
It does when you're blinded and you're in the middle of a race and drifting around a corner and you can't see oncoming traffic for a second. Yeah, it gets annoying.
Yeah.
So overall, if you like Need for Speed, if you like racing games, at least give it a try. Try it. Don't skip it. I'd try it out. Yeah,
especially because I know on the PS4, I think the most recent one was Drive Club or The Crew, and I think those were even like, like in January or earlier in the year. So
yeah, the most recent Need for Speed on next generation consoles was Need for Speed Rivals, which came out 2 years ago.
Yeah,
I want to say it was a launch title.
Yeah,
so it's been a while. So it's a good starting off point. I like it.
Sweet.
Yep.
Just clean it up a little bit. Who was the developer again?
It was Ghost.
Ghost
is the name of the developer.
Yep. And I think that's really the only games they do.
I haven't really seen much else from them.
So you would you would think they would have kept in all the great stuff that they had before, but yeah, I don't know why they made some of those changes. We'll have to look into that.
We'll see.